This is our home, South Africa. Saffers, you know that emotional roller coaster of landing back on home soil, from our beautiful beaches to our incredible oceans and sea life, from the friends and family we've left behind to the adventures we embark on when we return to visit, from the mother city of Cape Town to Egoli, Plekvengout, from the landscapes of mountains and valleys to where our amazing wildlife roams. There truly is no better place than the African bushlands. From our hospitable people and diverse cultures to the thing we all love most, a braai. This is where we come from, and South Africa is a place worth investing in and saving. Saffers Abroad? Sign up to find out more about how you can get involved and help change South Africa. www.operationwatershed.com.
I can see your screen online, your presentation, and I can see that you are live as well. So you're more than welcome to go ahead.
Hello, good morning. I hope they can see my notes that side.
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Haley, and for inviting us. I am coming also with the members of the Electoral Reform Consultation Panel. I think you've seen Tomsi. We're very happy that South Africans who are patriots overseas have invited us to come and talk about our work. The second thing I would like really to indicate is that we're really a panel of very hardworking persons who take this job of reforming our electoral system very serious. The majority of members of my panel, for instance, are not even paid. So that's why we take this work so seriously. The third thing that I would like now to do, coming to our presentation, is to indicate quite clearly that our panel is actually a parliamentary panel. It's not a government panel. We are also independent from the IEC, which manages the elections and so on. So we are an electoral panel set up by Section 23 of the Electoral Amendment Act of 2023. So we are that committee. Haley, can the people see that I'm sharing the document?
Yes, we can see it live on the screen.
So you can see it?
Yes.
And I'm operating it myself, eh?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, I will operate it. The meeting is here. Sorry. The meeting is here. Put it there in the meeting. Hello, hello, Haley. Hello, Haley. Haley.
Hi.
Haley.
Yes, I'm here.
We are having some problem. I'm not in the meeting as of now. Can you share the document and operate it?
It is in the so you are. It is showing. So it is live. It is showing your document, and it's and because you're on your document, but if you scroll on your document, we can see it.
So I must use my document.
Yes.
Where is it? Where? Oh. Okay, then as I can indicate, this panel was set up by Parliament, and it is supposed to actually work to ensure that it brings recommendations to Parliament on how to reform our system. This panel was appointed on the 16th of May, 2024, and it has continued its work since June up to now. It's important that I must mention what are its terms of reference. Section 23 of the Electoral Amendment Act 2023 provides that ERCP must independently investigate, consult on, report on, and make recommendations in respect of potential reforms of the electoral system for the election of the National Assembly and the election of the provincial legislatures in respect of the elections to be held after the 2024 elections. That is, we're preparing for the elections, therefore, of 2029. The ECRP, which is our body, has been given 12 months to do this work, ending on the 31st of May next year. And it must submit its report to the minister with the possible electoral reforms for the elections of the National Assembly and the provincial legislatures. We must also give reasons, potential advantages and disadvantages of any system that we propose. We must give the legal and constitutional implications of that system. We must also ensure that each system is costed for its financial implication. If we are unable to submit the report within 12 months, we can ask the minister to give us an additional 6 months extension. That is, if we cannot do that. It's critical, that's why I say we're a parliamentary panel. It's critical that people understand that this panel must exercise its work to enable Parliament to exercise its constitutional powers to determine the electoral system. So all our work is going to go to Parliament. Then Parliament is the one that is going to decide the electoral system. We don't decide the electoral system. We actually make recommendations of a number of electoral systems that are possible in our situation. The ERCP must submit quarterly progress reports to the Minister of Home Affairs. And then we actually do that and give those quarterly reports on the progress that we're giving. And then our final report will be in a year's time to come. It's important that I just make these 3 points about our terms of reference. When the ERCP looked at its terms of reference, it concluded that its work to advise the National Assembly is not limited only to an electoral system that falls within our constitutional framework. We are not limited to only look at the Constitution and recommend electoral systems that are within that process. Secondly, the ERCP recognized that it may not be possible, for instance, to recommend all potential possible systems, electoral systems. So we have chosen that we might go for something like 3 or 5 recommendations that we are going to make. So in doing our work, Section 23 directs the panel to solicit, therefore, views of all sectors of society and also conduct nationwide public hearings to listen to the views of all South Africans about their preferred electoral system. Just briefly, we have set up our work as to how we are working. In terms of our mandate that I've stated above, we have actually come out with about 6 phases of our work. From the 3rd of June to the 31st of October, we are doing what is called research and public submissions. This process we're in, for instance, is part of asking our citizens abroad, overseas, to please make submissions to the panel, and the work that Haley has done to make this possible overseas is part of what we are required to do. The second phase will be to review those public submissions and prepare a discussion document for consultations. So we are all going to go into consultations in November up to February, and which will be now public hearings where we discuss the views of people who have made submissions and also any other views that are coming from the research that we have been doing. So it's very important. And then an important thing in phase 2, 3 is that we hope After the public participation and preparation of a consultation paper, in phase 4, we will be able to hold a high international conference. I hope, Haley, I'll see you there around March next year. That conference is so important because we will now be actually sharing our own findings about our own situation and also inviting international experts from certain chosen countries to also share with us their own experiences. The 4th and 5th phase will allow us to draft and finalize the report and make the proposals. And then the final phase will be the submission of the report to the minister. We have made then the call for the public submissions, and having made that call, the closing date for the call for public submission is the 31st of October 2024. People can deliver them to the Home Affairs Office we occupy in Arcadia Street in Hatfield. They can use the website of the department, which is www.dha.gov.za. They can also use our email, which is ercp@dha.gov.za. And they can also mail the things by post to Private Bag X114 Pretoria 0001. In conclusion, I would like to say it's very important, this process. Electoral design can be important for diverse reasons, such as gender representation, conflict management, and development of a multi-party political system. That is why you will find somewhere in our presentation, we actually did indicate some important principles that members can take into account. Principles such as inclusivity, representativity, accountability, fairness, and manageability of the system. These are some of the principles that we would like people to look at when they are making proposals to us. So the work is going, it's quite exciting, and I'm very happy to be here. Thank you very much.
Apologize for being muted at the start. So basically, I am just trying to get South Africans around the world to realize that every single one of us can make a contribution. So thank you, Advocate Zani, for running through and explaining the purpose and the mandate of the panel. And for those of you abroad, because in the lead up to the 2024 elections, a lot of you were feeling very frustrated due to access to voting, issues with documents you needed and things like that. And this is your opportunity to put forward your suggestions so that you can have a say in driving change. And this is the mission that I'm on, to get people to realize we can all contribute and make a change to South Africa, in this instance, with regards to electoral reform. So if anyone's got any questions, I'm going to pull up. So we've got 2 other members of the panel joining us. So I'm going to bring us all on the screen in a second. And if you've got any questions at all, please do let me know. Otherwise, we can just have a general chit chat with regards to this, and particularly focusing on South Africans abroad. So I'm just going to unmute and bring everybody back on stage. If you can unmute yourselves. And I don't think there's any questions coming through at the moment. And again, sorry for, I'm going to blame it on having the flu for putting myself on mute just now. But I think it's really, really important because I feel a lot of South Africans don't feel that they have a way to make change, to drive change. A lot of people think, well, I'm just one person, what can I do? And I think the big issues with South Africans living abroad is access to voting. We can only vote in person at our foreign missions. And I know that the IEC bringing on their online registration was a huge help for people being able to register. There was some technical issues that we were trying to address in the meantime. But I think it is around South Africans abroad wanting better access to voting, and also with consular service issues. So nobody uses an ID outside of South Africa, and we have to have an ID and a valid passport, and that stems off because of the issue around loss of citizenship. So just for the other members of the panel, I started 10 years ago the campaign around loss of South African citizenship and the issue around having to have a retention letter. So hopefully, I know that the Constitutional Court has set a date for the 5th of November for that hearing. So hopefully in the next couple of months, fingers crossed, the Constitutional Court will approve the Supreme Court of Appeals ruling on that, which means that the retention letter requirement falls away. Those who've lost their citizenship will be able to get it back, and hopefully gearing up towards many more people abroad being able to have their documents and vote in 2029. But that, because of that retention letter issue, is why the people need to have their ID and a valid passport, and people are waiting months and months and months just to get an appointment, to get the actual documents. People are emailing me on a weekly basis asking me to chase documents. So access to documents and access to voting is a problem. So some of you will have seen that I'm running a survey at the moment to try and get people abroad to give their voices and their opinions. Part of the questions that I've asked are primarily focused on access to voting abroad. I've thrown in a couple of other questions, which is so far indicating there's 211 respondents so far, and it is indicating there's also a need for voter education, people not understanding overseas voting is deemed a special vote, not understanding the 2-envelope system. People think that it means that their vote is not a secret. There's a reason why I've asked the questions that I've asked. But a big thing, I think, is looking at the online voting or more voting stations. And I know that international laws apply. You can't just pop up a voting station in our foreign missions, just in case anyone watching who doesn't know this. So South Africa law applies in our foreign mission buildings. So here in London, for example, the Metropolitan Police cannot step foot in the building unless they are asked to do so by our foreign mission staff. And that is why, so you can only vote at a foreign mission. And, for us, it is a case of understanding what the laws are around the potential of having more voting stations abroad in cities where there's lots of South Africans. And I have engaged with the IEC, and I do believe that it was something that has been on the radar for about the last 10 years to look at online voting and what that would entail. So yeah, over to you guys. If I don't know if your other fellow panel members have any comments that they'd like to add.
Yes, colleagues, in terms of our work and our mandate, can you please come in and add any other things? Because there was also that thing of being muted. So I would like to know if there are things that you need to emphasize. Please come in, colleagues, and probably you can also clarify our relationship with IEC and Home Affairs, and please explain the mandate of the panel. Colleagues can come in.
How do I raise my hand now? Hello.
Hello,
Hi.
Hello, Haley. Hello, Chair. Hi, Matthew.
Hi, Tom.
Yes, I think, Haley, thank you very much for this platform. Thank you so much for also giving us an opportunity to give the chair an opportunity to explain what the ERCP is all about. And I think you're doing a fantastic job in terms of getting all our, South Africans abroad in the diaspora to get involved in what is happening at home. And our very key mandate right now as the ERCP is to, about the decision of the Constitutional Court, like the chair, I don't want to reiterate what he has said, but just to emphasize that in as much as there is obviously a relationship in terms of what we're doing, because the IEC is the electoral administration body. We are really not involved with issues of voting and things like that, but we're looking at the possibility of, is there a need to look at the current electoral system? Is there a need to review it? Is there a need to reform it? Is there a need to change it? And if it changes, changes to what? What are the values that people are looking at? And looking at, the chair has also outlined the kind of principles that we will be focusing on. Well, of course, it's not necessarily limited to those principles, but to look at the electoral system and for reform. And I know that there've been other panels. Mark Maraj has been, the previous panels that have, and Van Zyl-Slabbert commission that have looked at this issue before. So this time it has even been broadened and fast-tracked by the Constitutional Court decision to have independent candidates participate for the very first time in the 2024 elections. So for that reason, I mean, that's a clear indication that maybe we do need to look at our current electoral system. And if so, what are we looking at? What parts of the electoral system would we like to see remodeled, reshaped, restructured? And if so, what kind of results will that yield? Because understanding that, worldwide, there's no perfect electoral system, but clearly, I mean, the fact that we started off with the current electoral system, and I know for local government it's different from what we have in the national and provincial elections, is different. So our focus is not on the local government electoral system, because that one seems to be working okay, but maybe the issue is with the national and provincial electoral system that we're using. So if it does change, the inclusion of independence is an indicator that maybe South Africans do want to see some form of change. To what degree, we are yet to find out. What we emerge with is going to be informed by the dialogues and that we're going to be having with the public, which of course have already started with the written submissions, which are ending on the 31st of October, like the chair has indicated. But we are really on electoral reform system. That's where our major focus is, and that's where we really would like to hear South Africans say something about it and what recommendations that they would like to make. That is the input that that is our key mandate. That is where our focal area is. And of course, I mean, issues about the administration of elections. That is a separate issue from our mandate. But thank you very much, Haley. And Chair, thank you very much. You have, I think you've explained the mandate of the ERCP very, very clearly. And of course, we're working with the Department of Home Affairs, because that's where it is being driven. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Haley.
Thanks, Tomzi. Just to add, I think there's two issues, and I have included these questions in the survey. So the first being, as you mentioned, with the addition of independent candidates. So the way, and I must admit, I don't really know the finer details of how it came to be with regards to having that new ballot, so having 3 ballot papers instead of 2. From what I understand, you've got the national ballot, which is parties only. Then you've got the second ballot, which is provincial to national, and that's where the independent candidates are. Now, an issue for us abroad, we only get the national ballot, so we are disenfranchised from choosing independent candidates. Now, obviously, there's an issue that independent candidates are supposed to represent a certain sector, a certain area. So for us, I think it's to do a deep dive and understand more about the process to having that new ballot paper, and because it is disenfranchising us, so it's just to try and grapple and get our heads around that would be good. And then the other thing is, so from what I understand, the IEC's our electoral roll, once it's closed, is compared to the Department of Home Affairs population register, and there are concerns that there could be illegal citizens, people walking around with fraudulent documents, who are able to then vote. Obviously, those who've lost their citizenship get knocked off. We did see that in the overseas people who had registered, but people who, once that list was finalized. But I think it is a concern around, you guys speaking to the Department of Home Affairs, how do we clean up that population register to make sure that the people who are voting are citizens. And then the other thing is also that permanent residents are unable to vote. They're living, working in the country, contributing to the economy, but they are unable to vote. So looking at what I have no idea how many permanent residents there are in the country, but I think so here in the UK you can be a permanent resident, you can vote. So that's also, so I think those are the three things from my side with regards to electoral change.
Martha, do you want to say something?
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, Haley, and everyone else. I think you have covered everything, Advocate Suzanne, as well as Tom C. And I'm not sure, probably, Chair, because we'll be going into the process of public participation. Maybe if Haley is able also to organize the next round where we can a little bit narrow what we want to do, especially for the benefits of the expatriates, probably asking different questions. I know that she has indicated what their challenges are, but I think in order to assist the panel as well as the country, the major question that the ERCP is asking is, what is the problem with the current electoral system, if there is any? Or what are the challenges that voters experience when it comes to the national elections and the provincial elections? What are the disadvantages? And if there's a need to change this electoral system that has been working since 1994, what kind of system we desire to see as both citizens and expatriates, and what benefit will it bring in terms of, I know now he has indicated the issue that in terms of expatriates, despite the changes, these piecemeal changes or reforms that have been taking place, they really do not have a say when it comes to independence. So I'm not sure whether in the next round we can streamline the questions to focus on that, so that we also have the voice of people living abroad when it comes to the electoral system itself, be it PR, be it whatever form. Maybe having done a comparative analysis or what they think will work best, because that's where our main mandate is. And the other ancillary issues, we're able to pick them and can be, sent to various departments. But in terms of our mandate, I'm not sure. Maybe we can plan a bit better around those questions that can assist us to exactly hear their voice in terms of what the challenges are, if there are any, with the current system, except the fact that the latest reform that included the independence was done. Is there something more that is needed? Are there challenges here and there? And I think that's where we want to drive the public participation. But also in terms of the values, we have indicated a number of values which are actually not fixed. They can still be changed in terms of inclusivity, representation, and so forth. What are the other values that you think can make an electoral system to be the best system? And maybe if we can also look into that there might be a value that in terms of our initial point of departure, we might have included. But if there's a value that we believe can best serve the electoral system, what are those values, and in which system can they appear? And I think we'll go into the right direction, Chair. Thank you.
Thanks, Martin. I think it's also, as much as we are voting people in, there is an issue around, particularly, I mean, hopefully will change now with independence, but we vote for a party, the party chooses its leaders. We do not have a direct say as to who represent us other than the independent candidates, and there's no way of voting people out if they're not performing. So, it's great that we can vote people in and we have a say, but we don't get to have a say. The parties choose who they want, and we've seen across all parties where I'm gonna step a little bit over the border here and say people are put in positions that perhaps they're not best suited to be in those positions, and for us as a people, then we're stuck with those people for the duration of the term. We do not have a say to get them out if we are not happy with their performance. I think we're looking at how to change voting in, but I think we also need to add in voting out. And I think it's really good you've highlighted what is your role and what are your limitations as the panel, and to differentiate, because, like you said, with the access to voting and things, and the consular services is a separate issue entirely, and to look at what can we try to achieve for the South Africans abroad through this panel, and what do we need to look at separately, and who do we need to talk to try and address all those issues.
Yes, and I think the last point to the principle of accountability. How do we make the ones we elected accountable, which we can see how we can work on that. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Haley.
Yeah. Thanks, Haley. And Systems, I don't know if you want to say something about inviting Haley and have people to come to Cape Town for the conference. I don't know if you can just say what we are expecting on public participation, basically, and which will lead to the conference. Do you want just to say anything that will be different from the submissions about the public participation? Okay, no, that's fine. Thanks very much, Haley. What I would just like to say is that this is an exciting, it's an exciting venture, and we're happy that you called us in. It's true that we will look at some of the issues that your team and your people will submit. The issue, for instance, that you have raised, that you would also like not only to be on the compensatory 200 votes for political parties, you would also want to vote on the regional one that allows independence, and to vote for independence, something that you can make submissions that the panel will look at, and so on. It's important that we again meet again in public participation so that we can actually have full discussions. And with the public participation, what is different is that we will send you a document upfront about the issues that we are discussing on, that we would like you to make inputs on. So thank you very much. We appreciate this venture.
No, thank you. Thanks you guys for joining. Like I said, this is just an initial, touch point, an initial engagement, and hopefully to get the South Africans around the world to realize that they can have their voices heard. Any ideas? I say I've got the link to the Overseas Voting Survey scrolling. It is across all my social media channels, to ask people to please put your suggestions in, fill that in, so that I can get a full picture of what is the voice of the South Africans abroad, what do you guys want to see change, and then for us to be able to look at, once going through the results of the survey, what can we put into and contribute towards this panel, and drive further engagement, and go into greater detail on certain issues that they can address, and also looking at different departments and other issues. It could be it doesn't fit with the panel, and perhaps it's something that we actually need to crowdfund and have a court case against to change legislation. There's many different ways and means to drive the change. But I think it's just really important for people to understand there are mechanisms in place for citizens to have their voice heard. So there's not really any questions. It's all sort of comments that have come up. But I think it's, we'll certainly, anyone's more than welcome to contact me if you want to have a discussion, and maybe we, once, maybe come November even, we kind of, touch base on and just, concentrate on the core things that you guys are potentially able to help drive change. We can do further engagement and go into a deeper level on the details of those. But thank you so much for taking the time to engage. And I'd love to come to Cape Town. I was only there for 3 days as part of my pre-election trip. I did a quick fly around the country, going into townships, meeting with different politicians, and as part of my drive to try and get South Africans abroad to get involved. So thank you guys again, and hopefully a good working relationship going forward, so that we can have there's a lot of very, very passionate South Africans living abroad who would like to see positive change in the country, and lots of us wanting to come home.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. So, like I said, and apologies again for putting myself on mute at the beginning, but just a friendly reminder to please fill in that overseas voting survey. And if you've got any questions, please do contact me. All my social media channels is Safa Haley. And please, I hope you will get the message that every single one of us can make a contribution, and every single one of us can help drive the change that we want to see. And yeah, I hope you have a good day. And please do share, if you've already filled in that survey, please do share it to every South African you know around the world. And certainly lots more engagement to be had around the specific issues that you guys are facing abroad with the voting and what you would like to see change with our voting system.
This is our home, South Africa. Saffers, you know that emotional roller coaster of landing back on home soil, from our beautiful beaches to our incredible oceans and sea life, from the friends and family we've left behind to the adventures we embark on when we return to visit, from the mother city of Cape Town to Egoli, Plekvengout, from the landscapes of mountains and valleys to where our amazing wildlife roams. There truly is no better place than the African bushlands. From our hospitable people and diverse cultures to the thing we all love most, a braai. This is where we come from, and South Africa is a place worth investing in and saving. Saffers Abroad, sign up to find out more about how you can get involved and help change South Africa. www.operationwatershed.com